Lies are as bad as betrayal, aren't they? It's always a slippery slope. Tim Chase sat in a quiet bar, waiting for the sandwiches he had ordered to go. His best friend and business partner, Will Davis, was on the phone from his truck while Tim went inside to pick up lunch. It was unusual for a nice restaurant like David's Place to offer takeout lunches. The food was very tasty, and Tim always tried to have lunch there when he was in the area. Tim reflected on his day's work schedule when he heard a very familiar laugh. Curiosity prompted him to get off his stool and walk a few feet to peek into the room. At the sight, his heart sank. Tim's daughter-in-law, Dana, was sitting in a secluded corner with Matt Larson. They looked too much like two married people who were with someone other than their spouses. Tim felt bile rise in his throat as he saw Matt put his hand on Dana's shoulder and lightly stroke her left breast through her blouse. Tim's dislike of the scene didn't stop him from reaching into his pocket for his phone and opening contacts. Tim felt he had no choice. He had to clarify the situation to Dana's husband, who was sitting in the truck in the parking lot at that moment. Tim was planning to make the next call to his wife, Mandy. She would be extremely disappointed in her sister, but Tim felt it would be wrong to hide something from her that had changed her life. The truth is always better in the long run. Finding Will's number, Tim was shocked to see Mandy emerge from the ladies' room and join Dana and Matt at their table. What particularly struck him was that Matt didn't bother to remove his hand from Dana's chest. Mandy, on the other hand, seemed unfazed by such a disgusting sight. By this time, Will had answered the call. It was difficult for Tim to speak as numerous scenarios raced through his mind, none of which were appealing. He remained silent until Will demanded an explanation for why he had called. "Will, get your ass over here. There's some shit going down that you need to see," Tim replied before hanging up. Less than half a minute later, Will walked through the door and immediately found him waiting for him. Will gave Tim a questioning look, to which Tim simply tilted his head towards the dining area. Will shifted his gaze from Tim to the dining area and then back to Tim. Will looked bewildered. Both men jumped when Dana's familiar laughter suddenly echoed through the dining room. Will tilted his head back and scrutinized the room more carefully. Tim understood when Will's gaze finally found Dana. A frown appeared on his face, and he began to stride quickly across the room. Tim still held the phone in his hand, hurrying to catch up with his friend. He switched to video mode just before Will entered the restaurant. Will moved with astonishing stealth for someone consumed by rage. He reached Matt Larson before everyone at the table realized that Dana's husband was in the room. Will's fist landed forcefully in the center of Matt's lecherous grin. The impact sent Matt tumbling backward, breaking the chair he was sitting on and hitting the tiled floor. In a reflex action, Matt grabbed Dana's left breast as he began his short journey. Dana screamed as most of her blouse was torn away from her chest, and the left cup of her bra was pulled almost to her shoulder, exposing her white breast that she had recently hidden. The right breast was also exposed as the cup holding it was pushed several centimeters up Dana's chest. Will looked down at the semi-conscious Matt Larson and deliberately spat in the lying man's face. "Fuck you, Matt Larson. Next time I see you, I'll send you to the hospital, you pathetic bastard." "Will? What are you doing here?" Dana asked, puzzled. It wasn't as it might seem. Matt was just a friend, that's all. "That's it? That's all you have to say?" Will replied with an unhappy laugh. "It was just lunch. Does he just always play with your tits while he eats lunch? They're still hanging out in plain sight now, by the way." Dana almost gasped at the sight of her bare breasts. She quickly pulled her bra back into place as her face turned bright red. It had been an accident. Matt tried to grab onto something to keep from falling on his back. There was nothing to it. Your behavior was irrational and dangerous. "I never realized how easily and often you lie, Dana," Will replied before turning to Tim. "You saw Matt holding Dana's tit, didn't you, Tim?" "Yes, I saw it and videotaped it," Tim replied as he continued to take notes. "I'll send you a copy when this shit show is over." "Tim, you're not going to do anything like that," Mandy declared, finally finding her voice. "You're not going to interfere with Dana's personal life. She needs to work things out with Will. Your meddling won't help. Delete that video." "Good thing I'm still recording this crap," Tim snorted. You told me you and Dana were going to outlets for Christmas presents. Yet here you are, 100 miles from outlets, helping your slutty sister hook up with some worthless prick. And now you're saying my behavior is inappropriate? You can't even believe this bullshit yourself. I'm watching this in real time, and it's still hard for me to believe. That's why my video will be so important. I might forget some details of this crap, but the video will be a useful reminder. Did you just call me a trash? Dana almost growled. You're lucky Will didn't punch you in the face. You're insulting me, and I won't forget it. Damn, looks like you've already forgotten about your lover, Tim replied, nodding towards the body slowly writhing on the floor. He's trying to sit up, and there's blood everywhere. Looks like he needs the traitor's help. Will, let's grab lunch and get out of here while we still can. If any of these nosy assholes try to twist this story to make us look worse than we are, I'll have video evidence to set things straight. Mandy was still processing her husband's comments when the two men turned to leave. Tim, I haven't done anything wrong. There's no reason to be mad at me. You should stay and help us take care of Matt. He needs to see a doctor. Looks like he has a broken nose. I'd bet money on that, Tim chuckled, turning to Mandy. Will was on fire when he punched that dumbass in the face. I wouldn't piss on Larson even if he were on fire. You both messed up our marriages and God knows what else. I still remember the wise words my father often told me. Can I take a guess? Will asked. Something that's been fucked can't be unfucked? Exactly. Let's grab lunch and have some beers. We can get used to this well-fucked feeling since we'll be enjoying it for a while, Tim replied, making air quotes. Tim glanced over his shoulder once more as they left the room. Dana and Mandy were trying to help Matt settle into another chair that wasn't broken, while the waitress watched them with her mouth open. Tim picked up their lunch order and drove to a gas station, where he bought a pack of beer. After finishing a can, he drove to a cheap motel and checked in. Throughout all this, Will remained silent. Come on, buddy, Tim chided him. We need to eat and wrap this up. We always think better after a drink, so let's go to the room and start thinking. After pulling into her garage, Mandy noticed that Tim's car was not in the driveway. Her 17-year-old son, Trent, was at home after school playing video games. Have you happened to hear anything from your father? Mandy asked, trying to keep a neutral tone. Yeah, he called me recently, Trent replied. And what did he say? Mandy pressed on. Same old when parents divorce. That you both still love Beth and me, but can't live together anymore. That you and Aunt Dana are liars and don't respect Dad and Uncle Will, and so on. Did Tim say that? Did he tell you we're getting divorced? Was he serious? Mandy inquired. Well, he sounded like he was drunk out of his mind, but he seemed serious. You told Dad, Beth, and me over breakfast that you were going shopping at outlets with Aunt Dana today. But you actually went north instead of south and ended up at David's place with Matt Larson. Dad said that Larson was already all over Aunt Dana when they and Uncle Will found you in the restaurant. No one noticed Will until he punched that asshole in the nose with a right hook, knocking him onto his back. Too bad I didn't see it. Wait a minute. Dad said he'll send me the video later so I can watch it, Trent added. I told your dad I didn't want to see that video. Furthermore, I said I wanted it deleted, Mandy protested. Well, in Dad's defense, you also told him you were going shopping today. He made the mistake of believing you. Now that he knows you have a shaky relationship with the truth, he might think you lied about wanting the video deleted. How will he know when you're telling him the truth? Trent argued. I don't need your wise comments, Mandy snapped. I told a white lie to prevent anyone from getting hurt. Otherwise, I always tell the truth. Did you know Aunt Dana is sleeping with Larson? Trent quickly asked. Who said she's sleeping with Larson? They're just friends, Mandy stated. Is this your truthful story, and are you going to stick to it? Trent asked. Then I don't understand how you can stay married. It's amazing you've held on for so long. Are you calling me a liar? Mandy demanded an answer from her son. Not in those words, Trent replied. Dad mentioned that Dana called Uncle Will and confessed that she had slept with Larson several times and that you helped her hide it. Damn it. Why didn't she call and tell me she confessed to Will? I was trying to cover for her when she had already spilled everything. There goes your always telling the truth, Trent sarcastically remarked. Dad said I'll be living here with you until I leave for college next fall. Beth isn't too happy about her prospects, but she's still young. She'll manage. Has your father already made all the decisions? Did he make those decisions while half drunk and without consulting me? Mandy was confident that she would be able to convince Tim that she had lied only to help her sister. She had never cheated on Tim and had no intention of doing so. It was all a misunderstanding. But the fact remained that she continued to lie to protect her sister, even after Dana confessed to Will. That wasn't good. Tim was an exceptionally honest person, fair, and straightforward in his dealings with others. He often told Mandy how much he disliked liars and the damage their lies caused. Trent was very much like his father. He immediately broke up with his last girlfriend when he found out she had lied to him about why she canceled their date. The girl called Trent several times and asked for forgiveness, but each time she was refused. Now Tim was talking about divorce, and according to Trent, he was quite serious about it. How could one small mistake turn into such a big problem? Why was Tim so inflexible? He was willing to do anything for Will. Mandy was sure that Tim would lie to help Will save his marriage. Why couldn't Mandy help her sister in the same way? What was she supposed to do when her sister asked for her help? The more Mandy thought about it, the more convinced she became that she hadn't done anything wrong, or at least nothing that Tim wouldn't do for Will. It was Tim who was the hypocrite, plain and simple. Mandy decided to prepare dinner only for the kids and herself. If Tim came home and wanted something to eat, he would have to cook it himself. She was determined to weather the storm and even make Tim apologize to her for his behavior. Beth entered the kitchen as Mandy set the food on the table. Mandy could easily tell that Beth wasn't happy. I think I'll tell the judge that I want to live with Dad, Beth said. Helping Aunt Dana cheat on Uncle Will is really low, Mom. Will is a very good guy. He and Dad are the best friends they can be. I can't understand what you and Aunt Dana were thinking. I wasn't caught cheating on your father, Mandy snapped. I just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I couldn't tell Tim about Dana's guy. He would have told Will as soon as he found out. Interesting choice of words, Mom. You said you weren't caught cheating on Dad. You didn't say you never cheated, just that you were never caught, Beth retorted. I never cheated on Tim. Mandy angrily replied. All I did was cover for Dana a few times. She's my sister, and I'll always be on her side. Blood is thicker than water. Do you think you were helping Aunt Dana by covering up her cheating on Uncle Will? Beth asked with obvious skepticism. And how did that work out for both of you? Dad and Uncle will now know that both of you are liars, and at least one of you is a cheater. Since you've shown your willingness to lie, how does Dad know you didn't cheat on him? Tim knows I wouldn't cheat on him, and I've never lied about anything, except for Dana's cheating. He would do the same for Will. Maybe he already has. Who knows? Tim can't play the I'm holier than thou card with me, Mandy declared. As far as we know, both your father and uncle could have had flings. Beth shook her head slowly in disbelief. Have you completely lost it? We know for sure that Dad and Uncle will have never cheated. How do we know, you ask? Because they have never, and I mean never, lied to anyone or deceived anyone. I would bet my life that Dad has never deceived you. It's sad that now I wouldn't dare to bet on your loyalty. Now it was Mandy's turn to be stunned. You think I could cheat on your father? You've decided that just because I tried to protect my only sister, I must be a cheater? I didn't say that, Mom. I'm saying I'm not as sure about your loyalty as I am about Dad's. I didn't feel this way even this morning when you told us all that you were going to outlets with Aunt Dana. But today you've lost some of my trust. And that's your fault. Before Mandy could reply, her mobile phone rang. It's Dana. I have to take this call, but we'll continue the conversation later.
Dana.
I heard that you confessed to Will and made me look like a fool. I was still denying your affair when Trent told me you'd already admitted to cheating. Guilty as charged, sis. Lately, I've made a lot of wrong decisions. I don't know why you didn't make me stop seeing Matt when you found out about us. That would have bothered me then, but I wouldn't have had to go through the mess I got into today. Hold on a moment, protested Mandy. It was you who begged me to help keep your affair a secret. I was just trying to be a good sister and spare you from pain. You didn't do a very good job of that, did you?
replied Dana.
You should have made me stop as soon as you found out. I was lucky that Will took me back. Wait, you said Will took you back? He forgave you? Asked Mandy. How did you convince him? He looked very angry at the restaurant. You won't believe it. I called Will and confessed everything. I convinced him that I told him the absolute truth. You know how Will and Tim feel about lies. I was sure he was going to divorce me, but I also knew that my only chance was to be completely honest and very repentant. Will told me that he had long conversations with Tim about fidelity, honesty, forgiveness, and all kinds of partnership issues. Will told me that Tim noted that we, Will and I, are not only spouses but partners. I can't believe that a few simple cliches allowed Will to forgive you, Mandy said. There must be something more. You guessed it, sis. Will told me that 2 years ago, when they were in Harrisburg for a 2-day lawn and garden expo, he met a woman who seemed interested in him. Tim went to check out equipment, while Will sat at the bar chatting with this young, attractive woman. At least, that's how Will described her. He sent him a message and asked him not to come back to their room for a couple of hours, as he had met someone, Dana continued. Will said that by the time he settled the bill at the bar, Tim was right there in front of him, angrier than he had ever seen him. Tim told Will that he would have to fight and beat him before Will could bring that woman back to their room. Then Tim told Will that even if he managed to take Tim down, he would still call and tell me what a liar Will was. Then he would tell our kids, you, our parents, and anyone else who might be interested. I've never heard of this, Dana. Tim never mentioned anything about it, Mandy admitted. That's because my damn fool of a husband came to his senses. He was damn furious at Tim for a few days. He said it was uncomfortable coming back. They didn't talk to each other on the way home. It seems they've come to terms with it, observed Mandy. They still behave like brothers. It's because Will gradually realize that Tim did him a huge favor by preventing him from ruining his marriage and family, Dana explained. Will even told him that he was ashamed of himself and didn't deserve a friend like Tim. He even offered to dissolve their partnership if Tim didn't want to work with him after that. And you know what your tough-hearted husband told Will? He told Will that he loves him like a brother. He would sooner destroy their friendship than see Will cause pain to me and the kids. Tim told Will that he knows infidelity will eventually destroy him, just as if I had cheated on him.
Wow, Dana.
That's quite heavy. It's like it makes your infidelity even worse, doesn't it? Mandy asked. You think so, don't you? Dana said. Luckily, Will seems more forgiving because he almost went off track. Don't take offense, sis, but will notice that I don't have as strong a support system as he does. That's the difference. Mandy didn't know how to respond to Dana's remark. She had hidden her sister's infidelity. She had gone as far as lying to her family to protect Dana. And now that same sister tells her that Tim is the best friend because he won't let Will get into the mess she allowed in relation to Dana. Is Will home right now? Mandy asked, to change the subject a bit. Do you think I should expect Tim to show up soon? Will told me that Tim is very drunk. They had to persuade the motel clerk where they stayed to get them a second crate of beer after they finished the first. At least they knew it was better not to drive, Dana replied. They went to a motel instead of coming home? It seems like Tim is just as upset about this situation as Will. I need to talk to him and explain everything, Mandy stated. Good luck with that, Dana said skeptically. Will told me that Tim is more upset than he is. Tim never thought you would look him in the eye and lie. Now he's doubting your loyalty and what you're putting into your marriage. Will said Tim feels like he's married to a completely different woman. He doesn't know who you are now. That's just silly. You know I never cheated on Tim. I also advised you to stay away from Matt. All I did was try to protect you and prevent Will from finding out and divorcing you, Mandy reasoned. Turns out that was not what was needed at all. A proper assessment of the situation is 20 out of 20. Now I realize I was a damn fool. And you're not much better, Dana replied. You should have kicked my ass and threatened to tell Will what a crap I was. That would have stopped me from making such a stupid decision. You helped me deceive, and it didn't benefit me at all. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Tim and Will caught us in the restaurant, where you were sitting next to your lover, with his hand on your chest. We'll hit your guy, and Tim is very upset because of me. We'll forgive you, but Tim is still angry and talking about divorce because I lied to protect you. And now you're telling me I shouldn't have tried to help you keep your secret. And I'm not as good a friend as Tim, Mandy said. That sounds pretty accurate, sis. You know what Tim is like. And yet you risked your marriage trying to help me deceive mine. You should have known Tim would be furious when he found out. He's a damn Boy Scout. For goodness sake, Dana replied. Mandy fell silent, contemplating her situation. How could she have been so foolish? In her world, there was one thing she could always count on: Tim's loyalty to his family. Of course, he was angry when he found out she had lied to him. That was not surprising. He never gave her reason to think he would tolerate or forgive her for lying. Mandy realized that what she valued most in life was being able to trust her husband and depend on him, and knowing that he felt the same way about her. That's how a marriage should be. It was built on honesty and trust, and she had foolishly destroyed them. Dana, I need to work on saving my marriage, Mandy said grimly. You're right about me messing everything up. I knew it was wrong, and yet I still did it. I would like to blame you, but the truth is, all my problems are on my conscience. I lack the courage and conviction to demand that you stay away from that jerk, Matt. Now I'm paying the price for it. I need to leave. I need to figure out how to make Tim forgive me. So, Mom, what are you going to do? Beth asked. Aunt Dana seems to have come out of this mess smelling like roses. But you've really gotten yourself into deep trouble. You know Dad better than Trent and I do, and we both know it's better not to lie to him. You're right, Beth. The only thing helping me right now is that your dad has always been able to forgive me in the past. He has a big heart, and family is the center of his life, Mandy declared. All I can think about is pleading with Tim to forgive me. I was completely in the wrong. It will never happen again if he can forgive me this time. That might work, Mom, especially if you wear your yellow sundress that shows off your figure so well while you're pleading with him. Dad practically melts when he sees you in it. Melts? Is that what you call it? Mandy asked with a smile. When I talk to Mom, I call it melting, Beth replied with a smile. When I see guys looking at me or my friends the way Dad looks at you, I call it standing up. Do you think Tim still looks at me like that after all these years? Now you're fishing for compliments, Mom. You know how Dad feels about you. Most of the time, he's like putty in your hands. He'll do anything for you as long as you treat him the same way. Tim pulled up to his house afternoon. He was subdued and slightly hungover. He sighed deeply and headed for the front door. He had been contemplating his situation for a long time. Mandy couldn't paint him as the bad guy. He had a divorce form with him that he found online and printed out. Mandy could threaten him all day long, but it wouldn't change anything. She lied to him and their kids. There was no way to put a shine on all of this. Beth greeted him as he crossed the threshold of the house. She took his jacket and headed for the closet. How was your day, Dad? You look a little tired. Are you okay? Not very good, dear, Tim replied. I'm not sure what you've heard, but I suspect it was untrue. I need to talk to your mom alone. We're, so to speak, at a crossroads. Yes, I've heard everything, Beth replied. Those papers you're carrying look terribly serious. Mom asked me to take you to the living room and ask you to sit in the chair while I bring you a cold beer. Trent is already there, and I'll be back with your drink soon. I don't need a drink, Tim protested. I also don't need an audience. I just need to talk to your mother, and you kids better not hear what I have to say to her. You're mistaken, Dad. Here's your beer, Beth said to her father. Mom wants Trent and me to witness everything that's happening. She was very insistent. Why? Does she think I'll hurt her or something like that? You both know I would never harm your mother. It would be better if both of you went to friends or somewhere else. I want our children to hear what I have to say, Tim. They will stay here and listen to everything. They need to know the problems that misunderstood loyalty and stubbornness lead to, declared Mandy as she entered the room. Do you think I'm stubborn? Do you think that being faithful to my friendship with Will and doing the right thing have caused our problems? Demanded Tim for an answer. Maybe these divorce papers I printed out will show you how serious I am. I didn't want the kids to hear about this, but it's you. the stubborn one. Give them to me, and I'll sign them right now, promised Mandy. I believe you'll be fair if divorce becomes our only way out. I wish I could offer another solution if I could. You should read through them and take them to a lawyer. I was very angry when I filled them out, and they might be a bit one-sided, admitted Tim. It doesn't matter what's written on some piece of paper, Tim. I know you. You will never be unfair to me. I'm not worried about any agreement. I wanted Trent and Bet to be here because they deserve apologies almost as much as you do, Mandy explained, approaching Tim's chair and kneeling in front of him. I was wrong, terribly wrong, Tim. I lied to the three of you over breakfast yesterday morning and a few other times that I can remember. I had a false impression that I was helping my sister. I was mistaken. Now I understand that. I worsened the situation by not telling the truth and not standing up for what I knew was right. I wish I could turn back time, but I can't. I have to live with my mistake. Tim's grim expression slowly turned to surprise as he listened to Mandy kneeling before him. Even in such a distressed state, he noticed that Mandy was wearing the yellow sundress he liked so much. As she leaned forward, Mandy's neckline deepened even more. He couldn't look away. Even after almost 20 years of marriage with the woman standing before him, she still remained the woman he cherished. I apologize to you, Tim. The kids told me earlier that if you see fit to forgive me, then they will too. I was wrong. I know that. I will do everything possible to never disappoint you in this way again. I promise you my love and respect. I will accept any decision you make without complaint, Mandy added. I got a little lost, but now I'm back on track. Can you forgive me and teach yourself to love me again? Tim looked at Mandy for a long time before responding. You really hurt me, Mandy. I never thought you were capable of lying to me, especially so convincingly. I must be able to trust you, or I can't stay with you. That's a fact. My marriage must be based on respect and complete trust. There's no middle ground here. You can't be reliable only most of the time. That doesn't work for me. That's why my foolish attempts to support Dana were so painful for you. And in fact, for me too, Mandy sincerely replied. I'm afraid I lack your moral compass, Tim. I think I'm pretty good, but I understand that I need to be better. If we look at this logically, there should be no problem in telling you the truth every time I talk to you. I want you to give me a chance to reach that goal. I truly love my husband and my children, and I always will. Empty talk is a cheap pleasure, Mandy. You were put in a difficult situation, and you gave in. You took the path that seemed easier to you, and now it turns out that it's not. How can I trust you after this recent fiasco? I guess you feel like I'm asking you to believe a seasoned liar, Tim. Frankly, that's a bit challenging. I'm asking you to understand that I'm not as principled as you are, but that doesn't mean I'm unfaithful or disrespectful. I'm just a woman in love with a very tough, moral man. Dad, look at Mom, Beth interjected. Really look at her. I think you see what Trent and I see. Mom wants to stay married and be a part of this family. Trent and I want that too. Doesn't she look stunning in this dress? She's your wife, and she's beautiful. Maybe you need to have a heart-to-heart with her right now? Tim looked away from Mandy to see the smiling faces of his two children. If Will could forgive Dana, couldn't he give Mandy another chance? He turned back to Mandy. She nervously ran her tongue over her lips. Tim noticed that the top two buttons on her dress were undone, exposing a significant portion of her neckline. Do you think I'm that simple? Tim asked his family. Mandy has a long way to go before I fully trust her again. You're not simple, Dad, but you're a man. Mom practically told you that anything is possible if you accept her apologies, Trent remarked. I think the reward is worth the risk, don't you? Tim smiled at Trent's comment. He looked directly at his wife and asked, Is that what you're telling me, Mandy? Tim and the two children couldn't help but laugh when Mandy nodded, blushing at the same time.